Hello and welcome back to my Java tutorial series to teach you how to make a physics simulator. We're back this episode, and today we're going to be implementing some more stuff. Well, of course, going to be implementing more stuff. What else would we be doing? The first thing we're going to do, we're going to go back to our force class and change some things. Because now that I think about it, the aspects of a force aren't mass and acceleration. Those are aspects of the object that the force is imparted on. So we're just going to completely remove mass and acceleration and save that for the body. But what we are going to add is the vector. Because forces have two aspects. Their magnitude, which is measured in newtons, which we're labeling as force here, and newtons. And then they also have the vector, which is the where it's pointing, the direction of the force, what it's being applied to. And also, we're going to make this a bit more safe. So, force equals 0 if we don't give it a force. And the vector will also equal 0. Just so we don't get any null pointer exceptions when we move on to more stuff from this. And then we're going to expand this just to include a vector. So, this dot vector will equal, of course, vector. Now, as you see, these are private. So we want to add a couple get set methods. So we'll do a public void set name. Just to, this dot name equals par1. I just do par1. Sometimes I do par1 for just simple variables because, through my day I'll look through a lot of source code of different programs, and a lot of the times there's like par1 or var1, which normally stands for like variable number 1. And well, it's a more in-depth system than that, but you can name these whatever you want. Of course, I would recommend that you make them a bit more easier to understand if you were looking at them, like do string name as opposed to string par1. But again, everyone has their own different coding styles. You by no means have to take after mine, but I like mine. So that's all of our sets. Now we're just going to do a public, and we're going to do our gets. So we're going to do, we don't have to do get name. I mean, we don't even have to do set name, but I want to. But since name is public, we don't really need to do that. So we're just going to do get force and return. Now I'm using this a lot. Then you absolutely don't have to, but I like to overuse this just to make sure everything is explicitly what it is. So yeah, that's all we should need now in our new and improved, well, now we don't need that, in our new and improved force class. Now the next thing we're going to do is make a new class. We won't need force, and we definitely won't need render anytime soon. So we're just going to clean that up, and we're going to add a new thing, and we're going to call it force panel. What we're also going to change, in order to make this more easy, we're going to add another, well, we're going to add something new. It's going to be screen panel. So basically, the frame is the entire window, and why, oh yeah, have I really not, Okay, so, the frame is the entire window, and, the list is on the left side. The screen panel is going to basically take up everything that the force list doesn't. So, what we're going to do over here, this layout is null. We already, set the bounds of that. So the next thing we're going to do is do screen panel equals new jpanel. We're also going to set that to null. We should set the bounds of this afterwards. So now if we set this, I believe we can set that to 0, 0. I'm not sure. But the width is only going to be 600 and the height should only be 600. Hopefully. Well, I guess we can set it to 580 like the last one, just for that sake. And then just to make sure we're doing it right, we're just gonna set color. Oh wait, for swing components, it's set background. Of course, we're gonna do color dot. Let's go with light gray. Light gray is a great color. So if we run it now, hopefully we'll see a large portion of the area that isn't the menu covered with light gray. Maybe. Oh, very, very silly me. I forgot to actually add it. So we'll just add screen panel right there, and hopefully it'll show up now. There we go. It's just there. I made a mistake. What happens? We need to adjust this. Oh, not that. We need to adjust this to 200. There. Now you can see this whole area is taken up by light gray. Now, just so it looks better, I'm gonna change this to 205 and this to 595, just so there's a bit more space in between the panel and the list. There we go. That's a nice sized border right there. Now I have this whole area to work with, and basically that panel will make it a lot easier for us to do some more things, such as validation stuff with this. Now let's go back to our force panel. This is going to extend J panel as well as implements action listener. Now, of course, we have to import java.auth.event and javax.swing. And then down here, we'll just add the unimplemented public void. I believe that it's called action performed, and it takes an action event E. Now will it stop yelling at me? Yay! Guessing for the win. So basically, at the top of this, we're going to declare a couple variables that we're going to be using. That public static final string edit equals, what do you guess? Edit. Then we're going to do some private ones. So private static, oh yeah, long. There's our serial version UID. Now that'll stop yelling at us. It'd be cool if the IDE made it like actually yell at you every minute that you had a warning. Oh my god. It'd be great motivation. We're just setting up some only slightly redundant strings up here. So there you go there. Now what we're going to set up here is a private J label. Now J labels are basically they're basically just pieces of text that you can't edit. You know, yeah, they're basically pieces of text that you can't edit. Then we're going to have some J buttons, which of course we covered in the previous episode or two. We're going to create one each for force and vectors. You're going to see exactly what we're going to be doing with those sooner or later. Two J panels, again, a force panel and a vector panel. And then private force. Oh, don't want to delete that. Okay, that's enough for our variables that we're going to be using. Now for the brunt of this is going to be our constructor. Public force panel. You're going to pass a force to it as an argument, just so, because the whole panel is going to be, there's going to be one for every force, and it's just going to display information about a force and let you edit the force. So, it needs a force. We're just going to call super here. We don't want it to do anything. We're going to do this dot force equals force. And then we're going to do set layout, new box layout, as we encountered that in the last 2 episodes. So we're just going to make this, and we're going to do it up and down for the overall of it. Next, we're just going to do the force label equals new J label. Force equals plus force dot get force plus newtons, because of course it's measured in newtons, like I said earlier. Fun fact, a newton is also equal to a meters per second squared times a kilogram, which kind of makes sense. Then of course we do vector equals force dot get vector. Now there are many ways to represent the direction of the vector, but we're going to be representing ours in degrees. So I'm just going to grab a handy degree symbol off of somewhere and put it right there. And save it. It'll say, it's not ASCII because the degree character is not an ASCII. ASCII is a type of encoding for binary, so it's perfectly fine. We'll do save as UTF-8, which will just make it more international, which is absolutely not bad, of course. Now, let us continue with our force button equals a new J button. Edit. And then our vector button will be likewise. But of course, they're allowed. But they'll be in different places that'll like explicitly, distinguish what you'll see. It doesn't really matter anyway. So we're just gonna do we're gonna set their action commands so we can use the same action listener for both of them and just distinguish between the commands. This one will be vector. And then now we just add action listener this, and likewise for the vector button. Okay, now we can actually start putting things onto panels. Now the force panel can equal new J panel. Then we're going to do force panel dot set layout. Again, we're going to do box layout. Now, box layout is just the most convenient for our situation. Again, last episode or 2 episodes ago, I gave you the a guide to how to use all the different layouts, and so you can look up your own depending on whatever program you're doing. The layout you want to be doing can obviously change a lot, but our purpose is suited just by several panels with different box layouts. It allows for a lot of customization, but that's just me. So we'll do force panel dot add the force label, and then we're going to do add another component. Well, this is going to be a box dot create horizontal glue, which is another feature of the box layout, which basically means in between what I add vertically, in between what I add before it and what I add after it, there'll be as much space as possible. So now I'm going to add the force button. So that means in between the label that tells you what the force equals and the button where you can edit the force, there'll be as much room as possible, which is exactly what we want. Now, just to make it look fancy and a bit more separated, we're going to do set a border, go back into our border factory, where they manufacture all the borders that you could ever need. And we're going to do create a raised bevel border. That's all we need to do. Now we're going to do almost exactly the same thing. Well, we're going to do basically the exact same thing, but we're going to do it for the vector panel. So just to make it easier, I'll go up here, grab vector panel, and just, you know, do the lazy man's way out. There, vector, vector, there. So that's, you know, exactly the same as before, since, you know, they're basically going to be added. So now that we have all of those things, we're gonna add force panel, add vector panel, and then we're gonna do something cool. Because, you know, how are we gonna figure out what force this is? Well, we're gonna set a border. We visit our friend the border factory, and we're gonna create a titled border. Now here we're just gonna have the string title, just to make it easy, and we're going to do force dot name dot to uppercase, just to make it more distinguishable. Now that'll look really cool when we get into it. Where we're just gonna set bounds 5, just to make it a little bit away from the edge, to make it look cool. And it's gonna be fairly wide, just so it can fit, you know, if you ever get a really large force or a really accurate force, that it'll fit very nicely. Now, of course, we're gonna have to put in the action performed. Let's just go into here, main, and what we're gonna do is do screen panel dot add a new. Oh wait, no, we don't want that to happen. What's going to happen is, because when we hover over net force, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with net force. I might just remove it completely. But basically over here, when you select a different force, it's going to call this value change method, and we're going to do some stuff in there. So integer index, we always, you know, get the index. Whenever the list change, we're going to get selected. Oh wait, yeah, it's exactly that. Get selected. Do main dot screen panel, which is why we made it static. It'll only ever have one, but making it static just makes it easier to access it. We're going to set it visible to false, because in order for us to edit any components of this, it needs to be invisible. So we'll do force panel equals null. We're setting it equal to null just so we can initialize it and do some other stuff. So then we're going to do if index is greater than 0. So if it isn't the net force that you're selecting, it's going to do string name equals list dot get selected value, force panel equals new force panel, force map, getting back to our big repository of all the forces we're going to be having, and we're going to be able to get the name of the force. Then we're just going to do main dot screen panel dot add force panel, exactly. What we also forgot to do here is that we're just going to want to remove things. So after we set visible to false, we're going to do main dot screen panel dot remove all, because if we wanted to specify the index component, it could be prone to failure, really, but remove all makes it simple since it's only ever going to have the one thing on it. Okay, so after you do it, it's just going to do main dot screen panel again, and this time we're going to revalidate, which basically checks the whole hierarchy of things and validates them, because when you change anything on the hierarchy, it becomes invalid. and before you can actually register the change, you need to validate it. Revalidate it is, as opposed to validate, it just invalidates everything, and then validates everything, so it's basically just a, make sure, nothing will go wrong, hopefully. Then after that, we're just going to repaint, to paint everything to the screen again, well, to actually just paint the component hierarchy again, and then we set it to visible. So now, if we start up, we can easily just add a force called gravity. Oh, look how fancy that looks, thanks to the power of swing components. Now, of course, if we press edit, nothing will happen, because we didn't tell it to do anything yet. But of course, we can still add even more stuff. As you can see, the name changed to normal, gravity, normal, nothing, because we told it to remove all and still do that every time. And of course, again, can't edit. But this is where the fun begins. And I hope this episode doesn't go too long. This next part is actually pretty quick and not necessarily easy. It really depends on who you are. But now we can get into it. Okay. First, in order to distinguish between the two buttons that we're going to get the action command. And my favorite control system is a switch. And what we're going to do, between basically two things, the case of force and the case of vector. And just for type safety, well, just for normal safety, it's not type safety at all, we'll do that. After each one, we'll do break just for safety. Again, because when you're done setting the force, you don't want to have to reset the vector. What we're going to do, we're just going to, this has to be float old force equals force dot get force. And then, this is where the fun begins. Because I showed you last episode, a good way to confirm or get information was through the J dialogues, through the option pane. So, it's going to come out as a string, so we do float dot parse float. Now, if any of the objects like integer or double or short or byte or stuff, there's a parse, whatever that is. So there's also a parse integer or a parse byte. Basically, it accepts a string and it goes through it and converts it to whatever it is. But what our string is going to be a J option pane. J option pane dot show input dialog. Except we want the most. That's probably the one we want. The parent component is going to be main.frame, just so you can't edit anything else. When this pops up, the message is going to be enter the force's new magnitude. Because we're not editing the vector, we're editing the magnitude. This will be edit force. The message type will be J option pane dot question message. Now I want some more parameters than this. What we're going to add is null, which is the icon you want it to go with it, and we don't want it to go with any icon. Null for a preset of things you want them to select. Null means that it'll just be an empty field that you can enter into. So you can enter any value, basically. And then the default thing that pops up first, we're going to do old force. And just to make type safety, we're going to convert that to string. But it should already be a string. Another very long thing. Convert another very long thing, but just for the convenience of the end user. We're just going to... This won't do much at all, but it'll do something. Basically, if it equals the same as before, just return, don't do anything, we don't care. Another thing, we'll do force dot set force, new force, and then just to make sure all the information, we'll do JLabel dot set text, same thing as before, plus There. Now, again, we will probably just want to copy this over to vector, as we have been doing, and just change force to vector. Because the main tool for a programmer is knowing how to copy and paste. Vector. Enter the force's new vector, not magnitude. Yeah, I spelled that right. Yay for me. And this time it's going to be set vector. We want to make sure everything is changed out for the better. So now we're going to do vector label set text vector equals force dot get vector. And let me just go grab our degree symbol, since I have no idea how to make that with my keyboard. And I know how to make a lot of symbols with my keyboard. So, now we have this, which of course is great. Go us. Well, go us if it works. Let's hope it works. So now let's add gravity. Let's say gravity, oh look, okay, enter the force's new magnitude. Let's say it equals 3.141. Oh look, force equals 3.141. Now let's say the vector equaled 2.719. Oh look, it's 2.719 degrees. Obviously these numbers don't do anything yet, but you know, we can go to net force, but we can go back and it equals the same thing, and in fact we can even add another force, go back to gravity, still equals something, and we can set this force to something. Normal force is a lot of the times equal to gravity, so 141. Go back to that. Oh look, they're equal. But let's say you just had a different vector, which should be opposite gravity. So it's 180. It's 180.0 in fact. Oh wait, that's not the opposite. I thought that was 0. Either way, you see, it's very customizable, very nice. And next episode we'll deal with actually drawing the free body diagram. But I fear this episode has been getting a bit long. So again, I'm Bralaborn, and I will see you next time on this tutorial series. Good night.